What is up, everybody? Welcome to a new and a first in a very, well, feels like a very long time for me, episode of the Anthem of Impact Wrestling show. Now, I'm Jason. As you can see, I got on Twitter yesterday, just kind of give you guys a shout out that I was going to be doing this again starting today, reviewing last night's show. Um, I'm going to hit some other big topics after I give my review. But there were a couple things that I wanted to talk about before I get into the review. Some of the things, because man, there's been a lot of things going on. Um, just some like the smaller things, the belts. I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, obviously we've seen it. We saw last night with the Trevor Lee segment that the Impact. That's the only one that looks kind of okay like that. Um, the rest though that have Impact, just that looks like a bumper sticker. It even looks like a bumper sticker on the X Division belt, but at least it kind of looks kind of decent with the name across the X. But yeah, they're clearly just nameplates and they're just been put over on the belt in a spot. So the belts, yeah, they don't look great. I mean, it can't be cheap to keep having these things remade. I don't know if you bring back their other belts. I don't know. I don't know what they could do in that situation. Obviously, if you got the money and you can do it, if you really want to do a rebranding, please go get new belts. Again, unfortunately, this whole just global force impact, situation, clearly isn't a good one. Doesn't look good. Um, for anybody, and it's not under a good situation. Obviously, Jeff Jarrett needed help, and thankfully he has now fully seeked it. He's in a WWE sponsored rehab. Um, I don't know, hopefully, people around him got him convinced, and he's gonna go take care of himself. You know, personal health and happiness always comes first, and hopefully Jeff can find that, and then worry about what he can do with Global Force and everything else, or Impact if he decides to come back to Impact at some point. I don't know, but I think Anthem had to do what they did. Um, you know, they put him on a leave of absence to take care of it, and he clearly wasn't taking care of it. The reports at these different shows that he showed up, he was drunk and not in a good way, and we'll see what happens with that. Um, all the business partners, because now we're starting to see more. We saw more last night on Impact with the Border City Wrestling and with the WrestleCade stuff coming up. I think all that stuff is super cool. I hope that they are doing. Hopefully, they'll do something in the near future with Wrestle Circus, um, with the possibility of somebody coming in that we also kind of saw some ink of on his arm. He also helps run an organization, a very well known one on the indie scene, and if that is who we all think it is, and it is Sammy Callahan, maybe they can do some shows with CZW. I think that'd be also really really cool. Um, so we shouldn't just keep it to, hey, look, we got AAA and Crash, and then Noah, and maybe try to find like a UK, promotion to work with. Also work with the other indie promotions in the US and Canada, because a lot of these guys go wrestle there anyway. Um, might as well like film some of this stuff and get some good stories, and maybe get some short term deals with some of these people. Like a Sammy Callahan. Um, I hope that they sign him long term. I don't think that's gonna happen though. But speaking of signing people, right? We saw Low-Ki only had like a 6-month deal. So once that was up, he's like, you guys pissed me off with taking me out of the world title. I'm gone. You have the stuff with Taryn. You have, like all these supposed short-term deals or non-exclusive deals, so they could just get out just because they felt like it. And so much. Number one thing, obviously, is they need to stop taping like 3 months worth of shows in advance, like in 1 week. That too much stuff happens to where because now it's like none of this stuff even matters, because after Bound for Glory or at Bound for Glory, it's gonna be like a whole nother company again. And that's exactly what happened at Slammiversary. That's exactly what happened going into that live Impact. It seems like during each taping there's something big that happens to where it's like by the time you get to the end and the payoff of these tapings, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I think personally last night, that episode that had, they kept going and showing all these things that they had pre-taped, I think some of it has to do with the fact that, they can only tape so much because they can only put their wrestlers in so much, scrutiny and in so many matches at one time. So they knew, hey, here's an idea. Why don't we tape some stuff from other places? The timing of it's bad because we're getting closer to Bound for Glory. This should have been happening maybe earlier during the tape shows, and then you're taping for the end, because this should be the strong builds and these go home style shows this whole last month going into Bound for Glory, your biggest pay-per-view of the year. Your biggest pay-per-view of the year. I always say this too about WrestleMania. Some years WrestleMania nails it on the head, and they go from Rumble to WrestleMania like full-blown stories, right? That's really gearing up for WrestleMania. Other years, it's like, okay, whatever just happened at Rumble and then this other pay-per-view means nothing now, because now this is happening, and why is this match happening at Mania? This feud started 2 weeks ago. It's your biggest show of the year. Your biggest show of the year should be long-term feuds being paid off, dream matches, and spectacle stuff, right? That's the way Bound for Glory should be booked as well. Long-term feuds. Sorry, but especially after what happened at Slammiversary, we should be seeing an EC3 James Storm grudge match, hardcore match of some sort at Bound for Glory. Not this AAA versus Impact. And that's even supposed to be a bigger paid-off story, but we're not seeing that really get developed on TV. And this is also why I think we saw what we saw last night. Is this is supposed to be a bigger story, and from what rumors, I haven't read the spoilers, and I'm still not going to because I don't want to be spoiled on certain other things. But from what I've heard and what I've read, is it seems like this Jeff Jarrett thing really screwed that whole storyline up, because it was supposed to be like Jeff, and then it was supposed to wrestle, and somebody else was supposed to wrestle, but then that was going to be actually Alberto's return, surprise return, however that was supposed to be. Well, I'm guessing there's a lot of Jeff Jarrett tape stuff that they're not showing. And to replace that, they're showing you guys stuff that they went ahead and taped, stuff that they went ahead and taped in replace of that down at AAA to further that 3-on-3 match that we're going to get at Bound for Glory. But that still kind of falls under the the special match, the special attraction match. But because Pagano, we haven't seen him at all. I mean, outside of his couple run-ins, matches, at Impact, wasn't much. But let's go ahead. We'll dive into the show, and then I'll talk some more and dive in. As you can tell, I have a lot to talk about. So we'll start off, and like I said, we were told that Impact's going to take place in 5 different places tonight. You're getting your passport stamped a lot if you're watching Impact Wrestling, which is great. I do like the format overall, by the way. I thought it was really cool and definitely unique. The timing of it, soured it, because this should be leading up to Bound for Glory. This shouldn't be, basically throwaway matches that don't really mean anything. It's really cool to see. I think if this was just a random Thursday, 2 weeks after a pay-per-view, or just sometime randomly in the middle of a non-build situation, I think it could be really cool. It's something different. It sets them apart from Ring of Honor and Lucha Underground and New Japan and WWE. It sets them apart, makes them different, and that's always a good thing. But we start off the night from AAA, this tape match of EC3 and James Storm versus Phantasma and Tiano. Um, I thought overall it was a fun match. It's a different crowd. It's kind of cool. Their fans are a lot like if you ever watch like a soccer game. Um, it's constant noise, just kind of noise making. They got the little different kind of like horns. They got different clappers. They're just yelling. The fans were getting really into it, like trying to hit James Storm at one point. Um, that part's really cool, and it's cool to see that because we don't always see that. And I don't mean to say that as in like I'm attacking like the Impact crowd or anything like that, the Impact Zone crowd. But it's a total different way to watch. And whenever you see it, it kind of rubs off on you whenever you're watching it at home. But like I said, I thought there was a lot of great action, a lot of good moves, a lot of good flow to it for being basically kind of like a lucha libre rule Texas tornado style tag match. Um, and then the story was, the story going in was Storm and Ethan Carter don't get along. They're not working well together, and it's giving AAA the upper hand. Well, then tides kind of turn midway through, and now the old um, rivalries and feuding with Tiano and Phantasma are now starting to creep back up, and they're now feuding. Now they're not working well together, and it cost them this match. Um, it's a good story to tell, especially now flipping it and going into Bound for Glory. Because now it makes it a little more like, oh, okay, well, who can work together? And that's going to be clearly the story going in. Which team can work together to get the win for their promotion? Then we go backstage, and probably this story thread throughout the night was probably the most interesting to me of the whole night. And it's with Eli Drake, and he's back there, he's talking on the phone, and he's talking like, oh yeah, I know they kind of did do you dirty, but I think you should come back, man. I really think you should come back. Who is he talking to? When were these taped? Were they taping these vignettes, these backstage segments back whenever they're taping everything? Or do they have them come in later on or as months go on and say, hey, we need to tape some vignettes to update this story or that story. We need you in at this time or that time. I don't know their schedule. But so you never know like how far in advance this story's going is what I'm kind of trying to get at. This was from all the way back whenever they were taping. Some people were thinking like, could you be talking to Austin Aries? Well, I don't believe Austin was gone from the WWE yet. Could be, but I'm not sure. Austin makes sense as far as like how him and Eli Drake are kind of the same as far as personality wise. Austin would kind of fit in that. But I don't know. I don't. So that's what I'm talking about. Of when did they tape this? Could depend on who he was talking to, because I highly doubt that was just like a thrown away thing that Eli was just able to just say. Like I feel like there was a point to that. He was talking to somebody, because then he kind of kept referring to it like, I'm trying to do something here. I'm busy. I'm doing stuff. So I don't know. It's like a reassurance thing, like an insurance policy at Bound for Glory. Like, listen, man, you should come back. Hey, yeah. Hey, by the way, whenever you do, a cool way would be to make sure that I keep my title. But Dutch Mantel stops him. Dutch Mantel stops him, and is like, "Hey, what's going on, man? You're not making media appearances. You're not doing this. You're not doing that." Basically, Eli was like, "Listen, I don't have to do that anymore. Okay, you want to sell this show? Just keep showing my face with this belt. That's all that matters. Send on some of these other jabronis to go do these stupid interviews and media appearances." I thought that was pretty good. Then the next match, it's another tag match. We go to Border City Wrestling, and we see OVE take on Tony Atlas. I think that's what his name was Tony Atlas, and Brett Banks. Hey, Impact. you could sign him, man, he would be good in the X division. Could you imagine like him versus like Desmond Xavier? And that dude could fly around the ring. I don't know, obviously if he's much on the mic, if he has actually a good character, good gimmick, but he can go in the ring. That dude was he flashed big time on that TV screen. Um, OVE wins, and it was kind of a typical OVE match. It was just kind of some cool strikes, but also they were always kind of struggling. It was kind of a sloppy match. Also, this is the match I believe it's Jake that got hurt. So he was kind of obviously I'm sure that kind of threw things out of whack. Um, but yeah, they ended up winning. It was just kind of a usual OVE match. That they were kind of what I would consider losing the match, and then like a couple moves and then happens, and then all of a sudden they get the win. Then we get another backstage segment. He's being hounded to do an interview with McKenzie and all that stuff again. And again, this whole thread keeps going out. Then we get probably, especially if we would have gotten the like full blown thing, probably would have been match of the night. Eddie Edwards versus Marufuji from Pro Wrestling Noah. And this match, oh my god, some of the just it is so physical and just so technically sound. And these two, you can tell, have great chemistry in the ring together. Be great if they take that match and do a rematch at Bound for Glory for that title. That would be super cool. That'd be history making, and that would be one of those dream match, spectacle check boxes. You know what I mean? Like for Bound for Glory. Eddie versus Marufuji for that GHC title on American soil. Well, it'd be on Canadian soil, non-Japan soil. I think that'd be really cool, and let them just really go. I mean, let them go. I think it'd be really good. God, those just so many insane spots. The one where they showed Eddie put Marufuji kind of straddled him on the guardrail, went out for the shot of caffeine, and just that was sick. And then the tombstone pile driver to Eddie on the ring apron, and just so many crazy spots. The Spanish fly off the top, man, it was good. Of course, Eddie won. Again, that's one kind of bad thing is we already knew Eddie won because they talked about how Eddie won on Twitter. Like, he beat Marufuji, he still won. So, of course, we knew that, but it was still really good. Didn't show us the full match, but pretty close to. They definitely, they cut it. Kind of reminded me of like whenever we were watching New Japan Pro Wrestling on Access TV, of how it's kind of, some matches they do show full, and some of the other matches it's kind of full, but they cut some of the boring spots just to get you through what the match is. And we get probably the segment of the night. I know it set Twitter ablaze, and I know it had me very happy and like really hopeful of who that was, and that is OVE having talking about LAX thinks that they have this because they have the numbers. Well, you say you guys are family, but see what you guys don't realize is you need to bring family. And of course they just show like this kind of guy like standing there. They show like a little bit, but I couldn't quite tell. It's not enough of the face. And then an arm goes out, sticks the thumb down, and I'm pretty sure everybody's pretty sure that that's Sami Callihan. God, I hope so. I'm a big fan of Sami Callihan. I think NXT didn't know what the hell they had and didn't know how to use them. And he's done great in Lucha Underground, and he's always done good on the Indies. Period. So that'll be really cool to see him in an Impact. There were some rumors before, and I had to address this in a live Periscope on Twitter as well several weeks ago. About there was rumors that they were interested in Sami Callihan, then they were interested in Tessa Blanchard. Some of those things started going around. Well, like I said, it seems to be because there's a group, right, that are kind of known for being friends. Some are closer than others, but they're all kind of somehow connected through somebody, and that's Desmond Xavier, Zachary Wentz, OVE, Sammy Callahan. And then through some maybe looser things, there's Ricochet, Shane Strickland, Tessa Blanchard, Moose, ACH, like those kind of guys, right? They're all kind of connected and kind of friends. Uhaa Nation, Apollo Crews. You see them post pictures of themselves all hanging out all the time. I think I saw Moose post something. I think Moose and like Tessa live together or something like that. And of course, Ricochet and Tessa are dating. Ricochet did come out and say, so my one thing is like I was hoping for Ricochet. Sounds like he's going to WWE come January. Because if he was coming to Impact, he wouldn't have to tell indie promoters that he won't be able to take bookings. Because obviously Impact guys still go and do bookings, indie bookings. So that's unfortunate, but I kind of felt like this was the match that we could see them, especially Sammy. If the rumors were true, Sammy and Tessa could be those two people that come in and go after, help OVE take on the numbers of LAX. I just felt like that, this match obviously set itself up to be that match. And it looks like that's where they're going with it, which has me super excited. No doubt about that. And then, of course, we get another segment with Eli Drake and McKenzie. Not going to go much into that. You kind of already talked about it. They show Laurel Van Ness in the crowd. I thought it was absolutely hilarious how that one little boy was like, he just wanted whatever she had. Whatever she was willing to give out, that's what he wanted because she was giving it out. And I thought that was absolutely hilarious because, like, Chelsea didn't quite know what to do. Like, he was kind of like, how do I stay in character and tell him no? Like, you can't have this. It was pretty cool. Not necessarily cool, but it was funny. Then we go back to Border City Wrestling, and we get a four-way matchup of P.D. Williams, Idris Abraham. I believe one of the other guys' name is Tariq. And then I can't remember what the other guy's name was, the Japanese guy. I can't remember what his name was now. But it was what it was. It was kind of a whatever match. PD looked great in it, and PD won. Yeah, that's pretty much how the match was. Nothing much to talk about. Then we finally get back to the Impact Zone, and we get Eli Drake and Chris Adonis versus Johnny Impact and Garza Jr. And I'll say this right now. Whenever Garza was coming out for the match in his entrance, dude looks the part. Dude looks the part. I know going into it, it was kind of like, wow, okay, why did he all of a sudden get thrown into this main event scene and tagging with Impact? Doesn't quite make a whole lot of sense. What's going on? Like, he just went from, like, kind of flirting with Allie, but not really, and then Sutter and that whole story, and then just boom, he's in the main event. But I'll say he looks like the star, like he does. He carries himself that way as he was coming out. He didn't look like the one guy that was out of place. Is what I guess I'm trying to say is he doesn't look like that one guy that was out of place out of the four. And went through the match and actually had a pretty good match. But like he looked the part. I thought the whole match was really fun, back and forth. Again, it wasn't like a match that needed a big story throughout, or even, it was just kind of a way to get the faces an upper hand going into Bound for Glory. It was all right. It wasn't a bad match at all. It was good. You had four guys in there that can go, that know what they're doing, and but it was fine. Again, it's one of those matches that you look at and you're like, man, I wish intensity was up a little bit more on these stories going into Bound for Glory. I mean, we got like one more show, right? Yeah, we got one more show. Ugh, the go home. All we have left is the go home. It's gonna be. There's a lot that needs to get done because we still don't know what's happening with the X Division at Bound for Glory. At least not TV wise. So then that would leave us with the World Heavyweight title match, the AAA match, the tag team match, knockouts. What else is there? Rosemary and Taya. Okay, so there's 5. There's 5 matches. Oh, and we'll call Alberto's return will be a match. We'll say that. Let's say it's a match. There's 6 matches. I mean, you gotta have at least probably 8. I would say. Maybe not. I don't know. But you gotta have an X Division match. Because that was never settled, was it? I don't think it was. If it was, leave it in the comments and let me know. I mean, I think we all kind of see where it was going. I think it was supposed to, I mean, it looks like it was going to be Trevor Lee, Matt Sydal, Sanjay Dutt, and P.D. Williams in some kind of a match. I was hoping have those 4, add Desmond Xavier, you got a 5-man X Division. You could either do a King of the Mountain or do what X Division does and do an Ultimate X match. I think it would be really cool if you did an 5-way Ultimate X match. That's what I would want to see. Add in Desmond Xavier because he won the Ultimate X Cup, and just go from there. All right, so anyway, back on topic. Speaking of the X Division, we get Trevor Lee, little Trevor Lee promo kind of video package, Fim and Tijuana at the Crash, and he is pure gold. He is so amazing. His character, it's just, he's absolutely hilarious, but he's not like super goofy comedy act like Grado funny. Like, he's still a legit superstar. He's just great. Like, he's just got charisma out the goozle, all right? Yeah, you heard me say goozle. I don't even know what that means. But, you know, I've heard people say it. People in my family have said it. I don't think it's supposed to mean anything. I don't know what a goozle is, but he's got charisma coming out the goozle. But he is facing Ultimo Ninja from the Crash, who is supposedly Garza Jr.'s brother. That Ultimo Ninja is pretty good, and he's pretty much did everything all match, and then of course Trevor Lee came back and won. It was kind of a boring match, especially by that time. I was kind of like, all right, let's just get to the Moose Lashley match, and I'm ready to be done. Not that I thought the whole night was boring or anything, just I was kind of getting to that point of the night where it's the end of the night, and I was kind of like, okay, yeah, okay, I get it, this match, whatever. And then we did, thankfully, get to the Moose Lashley match, which was a really good match. I'm not going to lie. I thought it was really, really good. Super physical. This is something that I wish this was the match we were getting at Bound for Glory. There's no need to have King Mo and, you know, Stephen Bonner there in that match. I think it's going to wait. I think it's going to bring the match down. You know, I don't know. Maybe not. I mean, King Mo's had some, you know, wrestling training. Stephen Bonner, I guess, is getting it now. I mean, obviously, you look at D'Angelo Williams. He did great, of course. He's way more of an athlete than the other two. King Mo and Stephen Bonner are fighters. They're not necessarily great athletes. They're fighters. You know, like you watched. I'll get to it later. But anyway, I thought the match was great. But Moose wins because Dan Lambert came in and hit Moose. So Lashley, you know, gets disqualified. Then America Top Team comes in and starts attacking Moose and then Stephen Bonner, and that's where I went, oh my god. Like, they were so bad, like throwing the punches. It was so bad. And Moose comes in and saves people with the chair. And I don't know who told that little, like, 12-year-old looking skinny dude that has zero muscle or muscle definition to take off his shirt, but they shouldn't have done that. Like, he looks like he's the one little shithead in the group of a bunch of badasses that just, he's the one that talks the shit. Like, that's what he does. He's there to talk shit and start fights, and then everybody else fights. And he's just standing there like, yeah! And maybe gets in, like, a kick while the guy's down, you know? Like, that's what he looks like. He looks so out of place. Of course, Moose launches him after they clear the ring. They're all outside. They clear that little dude onto him outside. And Moose makes it a 6 sides of steel match at Bound for Glory. That might hide some of Mo's and Stephen Bonner's deficiencies, and let them just kind of go at it. But who knows? It should be fun. I still think the match will be okay. I just would have rather seen Moose versus Lashley just straight up. Because that's what the feud really has been based on. If it wasn't for America Top Team jumping Moose, Stephen Bonner would have 0 point in being in this. So I would have much rather seen Lashley versus Moose just one-on-one. But whatever. We're gonna get what we're gonna get. I still think Bound for Glory. Sorry, I got really close in there. I still think Bound for Glory is gonna be a really good pay per view. I've already ordered it on the Fight Network or on Fight TV, on my Roku, and I'm looking forward to it. They never disappoint. One thing, things can happen with Impact, TNA, Global Force Wrestling, whatever you want to call it, and they're always gonna give you your money's worth whenever it comes to pay-per-views. Maybe not every time, but they do their damnedest. I think Slammiversary this year was one of the best pay-per-views I've seen, man, especially in a long time. And I'm hoping Bound for Glory comes with it. I'm excited to see what they're gonna do in Canada. How's the set gonna look? What's that crowd gonna be like? That means a lot. The crowd is very important to these shows. So I'm excited for all that. Excuse me. I think at Bound for Glory we're going to see a lot of debuts and a lot of returns. I think it's going to feel like a reset again, which can be exciting. It just kind of sucks because I feel like we've already done that a couple times now. Since Anthem's bought the company. We hear a lot of good things though too. It's just not as popular to hear as far as people aren't like reposting it all the time as much as they repost all the bad stuff. But like in an interview Lashley was talking about, he's mentioned that Anthem's been great. The locker room is treated so well that no matter what happens, they're like, hey, whatever you need us to do, we're gonna do it. And we've heard Conan on interviews talk about how he thinks that Impact Wrestling is in good hands with Ed Nordholm, and he thinks that they're going in the right direction. It's gonna be interesting to see now that like Jeff Jarrett is fully gone, because it's not like it doesn't seem like he necessarily left on bad terms. He left on terms determined by himself. So hopefully we don't see like a max exodus of like Dutch, Scott D'Amore, and Sanjay and Petey, and like I'm really hoping we don't see all these guys that came back gone again. Like I want to see them still there. Maybe I'm hoping they finally give the reins to Jeremy Borash and let him be kind of the new head of creative. Still have his team of Dutch and Scott and Sanjay and John Gaburick, because I'm guessing they're keeping him there for some reason, and just let them go. And please, I hope to God we get some more consistency going forward, able to keep that. I'm a bigger fan of the name Impact Wrestling than I am Global Force Wrestling, GFW. I don't know what else you could call it. Anthem Impact Wrestling, AIW, but I think there already is an AIW. I don't know. I'm a fan of 3 letters, like the 3-letter thing. But I'd rather something just be called Impact Wrestling. Like Progress Wrestling over in the UK. The Crash. Something like, what I mean? Like, I don't know. I like the acronym stuff, but it's just, if it's not there, it's not there. And I'd rather just be called Impact than something completely different again, But yeah, I do. Like I said, I feel like there's going to be a lot of returns, a lot of debuts at Bound for Glory. It just feels that way because I feel like they have this new roster. I mean, it's not a full overload, but I feel like they're starting to get guys that they feel will set the tone for a new Impact Wrestling. And I'm on board for it. Hopefully, some of these guys that they do get signed long term, and I think that's another thing that they need to do, and that's sign these people. Like I do like the fact that people can get like these wrestlers can go out and get other indie bookings, especially since Impact tapes so much at once, and then you have so much off time. But I still think if you're going to be a major player in the TV world of professional wrestling, you need to have consistency. So you need to start signing these guys to 1 year or more deals. You still want to, if they want to still do their indie bookings like how Impact supposedly is starting to do now under Anthem is, you can do indie bookings, but we're booking you those. We'll take like 10% or whatever it was, and then they're using basically that 10% that they're getting on these indie bookings to pay for travel and board and stuff like that for the wrestlers. So that's cool. Hopefully I'm fine with that, but again, if you're going to bring in wrestlers, you need to sign them, make them exclusive to Impact Wrestling. Not just like, hey, we're using this Impact Wrestling stuff now. I don't know. It's just, I'm hoping things for the best. Hopefully things will get better. I'm not like totally in the, upset or in the dumps about Impact Wrestling right now. Like, definitely not to that point yet. I still think like it's still a good show. It's still in good name. I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. I'm just hoping that Ed Nordholm and Anthem and everybody else kind of is finally seeing what they need to do to really fix things. Let's see what else. I had a couple other things. I thought I had written them down in my notes, but they're not there. Announced that I saw on Twitter today, Reno Scum is no longer with Impact Wrestling. Kind of saw that one coming. It's because, they showed up, he got injured. Then obviously they weren't using them for a while. He was cleared. They still weren't using them. I don't know. I mean, their tag division is okay. It could get better. They could have helped. But, I didn't hate Reno Scum. They seemed like they could have some promise to them. But, at the same time, I didn't get to see them enough to really, like, feel too much towards them to where I'm like, oh, man, this sucks so bad. Like, I don't know. Sure, I mean, it probably does. I don't like seeing anybody, leave Impact, especially during this time, right before Bound for Glory and all this other stuff. But hopefully they've got new teams coming in and some stuff ready to go. Again, like I said, it feels like some roster stuff's now just kind of flip a little bit. And I think Bound for Glory and these tapings up here in Canada will be kind of a better view into the future of Impact Wrestling. I mentioned yesterday, for people that didn't see it, I'm thinking about doing a second show. Have a little more free time now, a little more alone time, I guess you could say, to where I'm not bothering anybody to record these shows. So I'm thinking about doing a second show, kind of like thinking about calling it like I'll Book It, something like that, and just kind of a fantasy booking show. Nothing crazy. Like I'm not gonna say this is how I would book it or anything else, or try to tear down what Impact's doing or anything like that. This is just more of, I'll give an idea or I'll take an idea from somebody. If they ever want to leave me comments or hit me up on Twitter at Anthem of Impact, and like I'll just take that idea and just kind of book it a little bit, or kind of give ideas. Like how I coming up, just for like an example, like coming up is Bound for Glory. Maybe one episode I would look at Bound for Glory and be like, look, this is kind of maybe what I would do. Not saying that they're doing wrong. Like I wouldn't take that approach. Just giving this. If you look at this roster and you look at just fantasy wise, you could just go sign some people. This is how I would book it, and the stories leading, after it, how I would try to make things more exciting, stuff like that. I don't know. We'll just give it a shot for a little bit, see if people like it. If people don't like it, then I won't do it. Um, but yeah, uh, Bound for Glory. Well, we got another episode of Anthem of Impact, the review show, and then I'll do a predictions video for Bound for Glory, and then I will do obviously my reaction and review show for Bound for Glory. Then after that, that's whenever I might start doing that. I'll book it show, and then hopefully I'll be doing some changes. Trying to figure out how to work this camera onto the computer and load it up, and I'll try to start working better on that, so then you don't have this crappy video of me. I might have to get a microphone with that camera. I'm not positive. Some other stuff that I have to work out now that I am in my new house and everything else situated finally and all said and done. Now I got the time to actually start doing that stuff. So anyway, until next week, peace.